What if I told you that there's a force inside you, a silent commander that's been guiding your every move long before you knew how to speak, dream, or even question your existence? This force is ancient, buried deep within your brain. It doesn't care about your goals, your growth, or your pursuit of happiness. It only wants one thing: control. This is the reptilian brain, the oldest part of your nervous system, designed millions of years ago to serve just three primal directives: survival, dominance, reproduction. While we've built cities, invented languages, and sent satellites into space, this part of our brain hasn't changed. It doesn't evolve, it doesn't reason, it simply reacts. But what if, just what if, you could learn to harness it, to transform this primitive force into a weapon for clarity, courage, and conscious power? In this video, we'll decode the reptilian brain, explore how it influences your emotions and choices, and most importantly, how to master it before it masters you. Picture this: you're walking through a forest, the light is fading, the air is still. Then, snap, a branch breaks behind you. Your heart races, your muscles tense, your breath shortens. You're ready to run, fight, or freeze before you even understand what's happening. That's not you thinking, that's not logic, that's the reptilian brain taking over, instantly. This primal system, located in your brainstem and cerebellum, was built to keep you alive. It's what pulls your hand away from fire, what makes your skin crawl at strange sounds, and what freezes you when fear strikes hard. It doesn't care if the threat is real or imagined. That's the key. Our ancestors faced lions. You face deadlines, criticism, rejection. But your brain responds the same way, with the same ancient panic. The reptilian brain can't tell the difference. It triggers one of three default programs. Fight, you lash out, get angry, or act without thinking. Flight, you procrastinate, avoid, give up before you start. Freeze, you become paralyzed, unable to decide or act, useful in the wild, devastating in modern life. Because now, these responses sabotage your growth. They keep you stuck, scared, reactive. Ever wonder why public speaking feels like death? Why change feels impossible? Why you stay in comfort zones you secretly hate? That's not your conscious mind. That's your reptilian programming, and it's running the show. Ask yourself, do I make choices from desire or from fear? Do I avoid discomfort because I like comfort or because I fear the unknown? Are you truly living or just surviving? The reptilian brain doesn't want you to evolve. It wants repetition, routine, safety, even if that safety is miserable. That's why people stay in toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, or self-destructive loops. Not because they love it, but because change feels dangerous. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this is what he meant. Fear is the most powerful human emotion. It's ancient, it's efficient, and it's easily manipulated. Governments, media, corporations, they've all figured out how to exploit fear to control behavior. When people are afraid, they don't ask questions. They don't rebel. They submit. Fear of crisis, fear of illness, fear of war. Each one turns citizens into obedient subjects. Michel Foucault called this biopolitics, the strategic use of fear to shape societies and maintain power. The more you fear the future, the easier it is to accept a broken present. And it's not just politics. Advertising, religion, medicine. Fear is the currency that sells comfort and obedience. The fear of aging, the fear of loneliness, the fear of failure, all of them fuel industries that profit from your insecurity. So how do you escape? How do you take back your mind? You begin by asking, is this fear real or was it planted? Most fears, when inspected, dissolve. Mindfulness teaches us to observe without reacting, to notice the fear but not be owned by it. Knowledge, awareness, deliberate action. These are your tools. And no, you don't kill the reptilian brain. You don't fight it. You train it. Mastery begins with recognition. The moment you feel irrational fear, rage at a small problem, or resistance to doing something new, pause, breathe, observe. This pause is your power. It creates a gap between impulse and intelligence. Expose yourself to discomfort deliberately. Start small, wake up early, finish a task you dread, speak up even when your voice trembles. With each act of courage, you rewire the old brain, you reshape your internal landscape, train it to crave progress instead of predictability. You can also reprogram emotions. The reptilian brain responds to pain and pleasure, so use that. Reward the habits that help you grow. Disassociate from the behaviors that keep you stuck. This is how you build momentum, not by fighting the old, but by feeding the new. Meditation, introspection, and emotional discipline, they're not luxuries, they're your defense system. Each time you make a conscious decision, you chip away at the unconscious chains holding you back. True power is not dominance over others, it's mastery over self. Throughout history, the wisest among us knew this. The Japanese samurai trained their minds to be empty of fear. The yogis of India mastered the body to liberate the soul. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, taught that freedom begins where impulse ends. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally intelligent. Fear becomes awareness, anger becomes focus, desire becomes drive, not addiction. Most people, they live as slaves to impulses they don't even see. They're manipulated by fear, hooked by comfort, and steered by forces they never question. But you don't have to live that way. Mastering the reptilian brain is the final evolution, not of species, but of consciousness. When you rise above instinct, you begin to create your life, not just survive it. This is where true freedom begins, inside. And once you unlock that freedom, everything changes. You stop living on autopilot. You stop reacting to every trigger, every distraction, every narrative designed to keep you small. Instead, you begin to operate with clarity. You start making intentional choices. You begin to design your existence rather than drift through it. You're no longer afraid of discomfort because you've faced it. You're no longer ruled by fear because you've studied it. And you're no longer trapped by your past because you've chosen to respond differently. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about waking up from the trance of comfort and choosing to meet life with presence, purpose, and power. When you master the primal mind, you reclaim your sovereignty. You stop being a puppet pulled by invisible strings and instead become the author of your own story. You realize fear is just a signal, not a command. Discomfort is just a doorway, not a dead end. Instinct is just a whisper, not a ruler. And you are the one who decides how the story unfolds. Because mastery isn't about suppression, it's about integration. You're still human, you still feel, but you are no longer driven blindly by what you feel. You observe, you choose, you evolve. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if fear no longer made your decisions? How would you act, speak, move, if you were guided by vision instead of instinct? That version of you, the one who leads instead of follows, who responds instead of reacts, who evolves instead of repeats, is already inside you. Waiting for the moment you decide to stop surviving and start becoming. Master the mind, transcend the impulse, and step fully into the life you were always meant to live, not by escaping your nature, but by elevating it. Welcome to your next evolution. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone else who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching, and remember, you're not here to be controlled by fear. You're here to rise above it.